Okay folks, this is Dutch. Just wanted to do a little video for you here. I have a lot of people that request these from me. It's a little something I do on the side. Just thought I'd show you guys a little something here that you can do yourself. Quick, easy, not terrifically expensive. This is shelving, obviously. It's done in white birch plywood. It's 8 feet long and it's 4 feet tall and it's 2 feet wide. I put a lot of these in convenience stores and grocery stores. The strength on them is phenomenal. These eventually will be entirely covered with wine bottles. So you can imagine the weight that these things will hold. The shelving is done in 3/4 inch plywood. The legs are done in 2x2s. You can buy them at your local Lowe's store. Here's what one looks like. All in one piece, 8 foot long, 2x2. Nothing big deal, plenty strong. Costs you about $2-3 a piece. There's trim. You can be as elaborate as you want. These are about 60 to 70 cents a foot. I buy these at Lowe's. Just a quick little synopsis of what I've done here. As you can see, on the 2x2s, I just simply cut them in half, or you cut them any height that you want to, obviously. What I do, because a 2x2 now is 1 3/4 inches. No, excuse me, 1 1/4 inches. I notch where I want the shelves to go halfway in, which is 3/4 inch. That's very simple. You just set your circular saw blade for 3/4 inch. You mark 3/4 inches on your 2x2. You rip it as many times as need be and then just clean it out with the blade. Not hard at all. Nothing much to it. Then you do the shelving and you put notches in each corner and in the center, so that you're going to have a 3/4 inch indent in 6 spots on the board, on the 2 center boards, so that you can attach the legs to the boards. Pretty simple process. You lay them down on the ground. They easily just go right into each other. These are just for show, so they don't completely fit properly. And you nail those together just so that they'll fit each other. And get it to stay well enough that it doesn't fall apart on you. The tops and the bottoms do not have notches cut in them. They are laid flat on top. The corners are laid flat on top of the 2x2s, and then they're just simply screwed in. As you can see on this one, screws in the top there, and the ones in the center, and I do the same thing on the bottoms. Then I flip them, get 2x4s, put 2x4s across the bottom, brace it up nice and tight. Make sure that there's some in the center for strength so you don't get any sag. These are plain simple 8-foot 2x4s that you just buy at your local Lowe's. And of course you just cut you a piece for that side, the other side, and then for the middle parts. And then, so there's no sag, I go to the centers and I cut the pieces accordingly in height. Make sure that they're reasonably well centered and put them in there with a screw in the bottom, a screw in the top. On the top and the bottom ones, then the center one you just angle a screw through, and that keeps you from ever getting any sag in it. These end up being incredibly strong. Like I said, I've never had an issue with one of these in 8 years of building them. The back is just a simple piece of paneling. You can use whatever you want. They have the thinner paneling like this one is, because these two will be put together, so that'll become a full 1/4 inch piece in the back, and they'll be screwed together and nobody will ever see them. If it's freestanding, I like to use 1/4 inch plywood. It just adds to the strength and the durability of the piece. It just ends up being a much stronger, nicer piece. As you can see on these, on the trim, on the corners, I've cut an outside angle on the corners because these are in stores. There's a lot of places where the customers come through. You don't want to get caught on these, ripping up clothes, tearing the trim off, tearing stuff up, you know, all the crazy liability stuff that they go through now. And then I cover the whole thing in polyacrylic. So, real quickly and briefly, you can see what you're going to need. Now, I have done these with simple hand tools, but I don't suggest it. This baby right here is an absolute just lifesaver. It's a miter saw for your trim. It's a power saw. They're not terrifically expensive. This one in particular I bought the base for, so you can take it anywhere you want to. It just locks right to it, and that's what I use for cutting on my trim and on my 2x4s. You're going to need a circular saw for doing your ripping and all your heavy cutting. I found this little baby at Lowe's. This attaches right on to the base right here of your circular saw, and then it's adjustable, and you can measure and rip at any size that you want up to 24 inches. This really comes in handy. Sheets of plywood are 4x8. I do things as easy and as simple as possible. I come from the Amsdorff school of thought. Don't make it any more difficult than you have to. So I rip them in half. I don't do all kinds of odd measurements and stuff. It's just one less thing that I have to do. Here's the polyacrylic that I use. This is about 40-45 bucks a gallon, but you can do 6 or 8, maybe even 10 units with 1 gallon of this. Stuff is just incredible. It wipes clean easy. You can paint the unit if you want to and then put this on it. It protects it, cares for it. You never have to worry about it. Of course, you're going to need you a square and a measure. Having a sander is a plus, although you can just use a very light sandpaper because you're going to want to. See, that's a very light grit on there. You're going to want to go over all of your surfaces that you're going to put the polyacrylic on, the big surfaces, because you want to just rough it up a little bit for the polyacrylic to take. The screws that go in the corner, I just use your basic drywall screw. This here is a 3-inch. The big black drywall screw. There it is. It's a 3-inch screw. The bigger the better if you can use them, because it just helps to strengthen and it works real nice. Of course, you're going to need a screw gun. This is just my choice at the time. Seemed like a good one. It's a Black & Decker lithium battery. You probably have a screw gun in the house. And then, you don't have to, but if you can, this is a lifesaver right here. This is a compressor. I do a lot of work, so I have a big one. 160 psi. The motor is non-oil, electric, never have to do any maintenance to it, nothing. The thing is just runs like a dream, but you can buy a portable for under $100, I believe, that'll do the same job. This right here is a brad nailer. This is just absolutely takes all the work out of it when you're doing trim and the smaller stuff. This is your finish nailer. I use this for all the bigger stuff, for nailing the 2x4s together, for putting the 2x2s and the 3/4 inch plywood together. I use 2.5 inch nails on the big stuff, and that gives me plenty of strength. And I use 1.25 inch nails on all my trim stuff, and obviously they just go into the guns. You're probably going to want to have a clamp or two. This is what I use. Serves a purpose. Does exceptionally well. I make sure that mine all have identification in them, so I would put our name into them. That's what I use. And then sawhorses. These are inexpensive. You can get the plastic ones for under $50 for a pair. Put a piece of wood on the top. You have a lot of place to work with. This whole thing, I can tell you in Florida, this piece right here is 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood of the white birch, which are about $45 a piece, so that's about $90. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 2x2s total. That's about another $15 or so. It's 3 2x4s total, which is another $10, maybe. The trim is 60 cents a foot. It's probably the most expensive part, quite frankly, except for the 3/4 inch plywood. And you can use whatever kind of trim you want. You can get cheaper or you can get more expensive. The sheet on the back is about $15 if you're looking for a panel type. If you go to the 1/4 inch, it's going to cost you about $20, $22 a sheet. Pretty simple, pretty quick, pretty easy, very strong, very useful. Actually end up being pretty darn nice looking. People in the store seem to really love them. Hope this might have helped you a little bit. If you got any questions, obviously you know my PM, or just leave something here on the forum. Thanks.